Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. Looks like all present and accounted for. Any additions to the agenda? First of all, could we all stand, face the flag, and pledge allegiance, if you're so inclined? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't do that, I space it out. Are there any additions to the agenda? Any changes?
Your attachment, your last attachment G is incorrect. You received the correct one at your board retreat, but I also have another copy with the correct version on it. So if you would just put an X through your G, that would be good.
Okay. Anyone move to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Kurt. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Approval of the minutes from the 3 previous meetings that we've had, October 27, November 10, November 12. Everyone had a chance to look those over? Questions, concerns, mistakes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion by Rob. Second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Kurt. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Scheduled presenters. Mr. O'Keefe.
I'm going to interject just for a second, if I can.
You absolutely can.
This would actually go to the bottom of the meeting for anything from the board. So I'm going to move it forward. And there's a reason I'm moving it forward, and you'll understand in just a second why I'm moving it forward. Wait just for a second.
Good. Go ahead.
So each year the MSBA Awards Committee selects up to 7 individual school board members to the All-State School Board. There are nearly 2,300 school board members in Minnesota. The board members are nominated by superintendents, fellow board members, parents, or community members for outstanding contributions to public education. This year I have the great honor of introducing Bob Britnell as one of 7 board members chosen for board.
Come give Grandpa a quick hug. You want one? She's a little shy.
The All-State School Board represents the highest example board service. These are school board members who are committed to student achievement, determined to build support for their local schools, and unwavering in pursuit of what's best for students. Criteria for the award includes MSBA training, strong leadership, excellent in boardmanship, communication skills, visionary thinking, demonstration of concern for students, staff, and taxpayer, and support for the nomination from stakeholders. As a friend and a mentor and a fellow board person, congratulations, Bob.
I thought this was one of those nights we get a pie or something.
We have dessert too.
I'll leave you this packet. That's your copy.
You know, it's more of a war of attrition, I guess, being on the board this long. And for my family to come in, that's it. They don't come to anything. They've never been to a basketball game that I've reffed, I don't think, unless they're a part of it. But yeah, very moving. I don't know what else to say, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Hey, Bob.
they knew but you didn't know? Is that fair?
There was, how many of us knew? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of us, I think, knew for a week. So
It's tough for you to keep that down. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the acknowledgement. I appreciate it, and don't know what else to say, but thanks. Okay, let's move on to the important stuff. Scheduled presenter.
All right.
Mr. O'Keefe, this is your...
Hard to follow that.
I was just gonna say, I don't have any presentation, but
But they're not gonna stay.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, Jackson.
There's my new grandson Grady, if anybody cares. It's just
He's like, you won't have my nap.
all right, so for those of you that don't know me, I am Michael O'Keefe. I'm the associate principal, and one of the job descriptions I have is to work with district assessment, coordinate those things, and then obviously to analyze data. This evening, I'm going to just run down the spring 2014 MCA results. Feel free to stop me at any given point in time if you have questions, if you need points of clarification. I'm going to kind of take this from a big perspective of elementary, middle school, and high school statistics. Just in case some of you are not familiar with the MCA schedule, thought I'd put together just a brief summary of what grades are assessed in the spring and what they're assessed in. You'll note that there's a couple big years in there, particularly 5th and 8th grade, where they have all 3 gambits of the assessments. Questions so far? Okay. This is state mandated, they put this together. The high school science can be taken in either 11th or 10th grade. We opt to do it in 10th grade in Cannon Falls. The first strand I want to talk about this evening is MCA math. This is an aggregate of grades 3 through 5 from the last 4 years. I'm a self-proclaimed data nerd. I like to look at data. I like to know, a raw number sitting in front of you out of context doesn't mean a whole lot. So when I started to look at our 2014 data, I wanted to see where we were in comparison to the last few years. And in addition, obviously the benchmark would be the state level. And I'm proud to say that Cannon Falls is above the state average in elementary in all of the math strands. Questions about elementary math? Okay. Looking at the middle school numbers, again, comparing it to the state average, there are many reasons to celebrate both elementary and middle school, again, above the state average. In particular, this 2014 data, 10 percentage points above the state average. And for those of you, again, that aren't super familiar with MCA, the way the state comes up with the passing number is if you meet expectations or you exceed.
I would just like to note here, it's a good time to, Tim, especially, this hasn't always been one of our extreme strengths. If you remember back, we've had trouble with MCA math at the middle school level before. Mr. Hodges was really instrumental in getting some quarter classes and some trimester classes going for those kids that were struggling and using that data. And again, doing it again this year. So hats off to you approving an extra math specialist at the middle school, high school level, but also for Mr. Hodges for knowing that that's a result of those kids getting extra tiered, and we've talked about the RTI and the tiered interventions. It's just a really good example of how those scores can go up if done correctly. So just want to point that out.
Michael, real quick. Sorry, real quick. So the raw numbers, as you're saying, the data, 68.7% of the kids met or exceeded standards.
That's exactly it. There is a significant jump in the 2011 to 2012 statistics, and that is the year that the state mandated that, opened it up, that online testing. So if you wanted to take your mathematics online, Cannon Falls has been testing mathematics online since 2012.
Was that a year also that standards changed? Or was it 11? I can't remember.
It was 11 was the
11.
new standards, and I'll come to that in just a second. So this is the MCA 3 math. When you look at the high school, and again, I apologize, I have grade 11 in there, it should be grade 10. There was a change for the high school math. Obviously, throwing out one statistic point for you from 2014, nothing to compare to. I want to temper these statistics a little bit to the fact that the MCA 2s were a different set of standards. So the state came out with the new set of standards in the spring of 2013 to be implemented in spring of 2014. So there is a black line there to kind of distinguish between the old standards and the new standards for high school math. As you can see, we are on par with the state benchmark levels. Questions? There's also a standards change when we start getting into the reading, and I'll talk about that in just a second too. This was a graphic that I created at the beginning of the year to just kind of show the differences in the grade levels. I'm going to see by here, Bob. Sure. To talk about the differences basically in all the different grade levels in math going back 4 years. So you can read this in 3 different directions. You can read how a grade levels is working and their standards. You can also read it as just a statistical year. And then if you follow the diagonal color, that'll give you, that tracks the same group of students by year. So obviously you're going to see some big jumps from 5th to 6th grade just between the growth, physical growth, the building changes, all the different things that are happening in a middle school structure versus having a home base in elementary. Puts into really great perspective where our students are, what years seem to be, what grade levels, classes seem to be more natural in math and which ones maybe need a little more extra support. Questions about this one?
Just kind of curious why 5th grade all the way across is always goes down and then it goes back up again in 6th grade. Is it the type of math they teach? Is it?
I was a 6th grade teacher for 14 years, and I know for a fact from giving MCAs for 9 of those, there's a lot of content in the 5th grade one.
No, I guess I was.
There's a lot of standards for 5th grade students to be assessed on. When you start getting to the middle school pieces, some of these middle school standards, while they're not different, it's just they don't continue to capitalize on them like they do in the 5th grade. 5th grade's also a really big year if you think about all the different things that are on their plate. They have band, they have patrols. They take their test at the end of the year, and if you have any 5th grade students or know anybody with 5th grade, it can be a very taxing time for students as they get very nervous about the following year too. So the timing of it can be, remember this is just one snapshot in April of their last year of elementary school.
Is there any place in that continuum where it's, with math, you gotta get them at that point or else you'll lose them to a certain point where it's like if they don't understand the basic concepts, we have to get them now or it's gonna be a struggle for the next 5-6 years?
I think the state has done a great job of identifying that, yes, we have to capture certain standards at certain time periods. And so they're not gonna hammer the 8th grade math test with everything that's been 3 through 8. A lot of statistics out there show that algebra is a good indicator of how well they do in other branches of the mathematics. And so there are a lot of heavy algebra strands in the 8th grade and the 9th grade MCA tests.
I think it's important to note the 5th grade though, as you bring it up, Jerry. I think it's important to note that the 5th grade has shown constant growth over the last 4 years. And just if you go longitudinally across the 5th grade level, I think it is an important piece to know. So we're definitely making progress. And it is a tough grade level. And I think we've talked before about from 3rd to 8th grade, the level of proficiency in order to meet or exceed proficiency continues to rise. So it makes it that much harder to get there, but we're definitely moving in the right direction.
And as a DAC, as a district assessment coordinator, I really do have a growth mindset in what this means. So we look at these numbers and we use this as assessment as learning as well. Obviously, it points out, like I said, different grade levels and classes in school. So that group of students, as you track them throughout the years, there are going to be some that, based off of their experiences or their abilities, need more support or don't need as much support. So this is one of my favorites, not just because of the colors. I'm going to jump into reading a little bit, and much like the high school math switched over, in 2012, that was the last year that the state was issuing the MCA 2s. The standards changed to MCA 3 in 2013, and I know a lot of people have had questions about it, so I'll address it right away. This is the year that the state adopted the Common Core standards. You might have heard the CCSS, Common Core State Standards, sometimes just referred to as Common Core. Those are the English language arts standards that comprise the MCA 3, all right? So I know that there was some questions kind of bouncing around email throughout the week. These are the standards that the state has adopted and implemented as part of the MCA 3s. As you can see, we're well above the state average in the reading. Good. When I took this position in the fall, obviously one thing that kind of jumped out at me was that the jump from the 12 to the 13 standards. There's always going to be a little bit of shifting with how things are being taught, with the way that things are being implemented. And so that, I mean, obviously we had a little regression, but so did the state. So if you look, we're still above the state average in all of those categories.
Also, the first year was taken online.
2012 was the first year.
For us, it was 2013.
13,
was.
yeah, 13.
Yeah.
12 was an option, 13 was
The
the
last
first
2
year
years, we've taken reading. We did it at the same time that we switched the standards. Most of the state did, but, so it's another piece to note, but obviously it matches with the state. So that can have an effect on the kids. You know, taking that for the first time in an online format,
It becomes very difficult to highlight, underline, star, circle all the strategies we've taught our students in the past when you have your testing books in front of you. So there are ways to do that online as well, but it's just not as innate to do, you know, from the way we learned. So the reading scores at the middle school, you'll notice just for the sake of argument, I showed you the elementary with the MCA 2s. So for middle school and high school, I just took those columns away because I've already addressed the fact that they're just different. We can't compare apples to oranges. The 2 years that we've done the MCA 3 here in middle school, a gigantic gain in the middle school between 13 to 14. And obviously you see statistically a 2 to 3%, sometimes up to 5 at the state level. Here we had a 9 percentage point jump, so fantastic. The high school reading, again, comparing against the state benchmark, above average. Questions about the reading, elementary, middle school, high school? All right, now here's the reading colored graph. Again, it's really difficult to compare the 11 and 12 MCA 2 scores to 13 and 14 just because it was a completely different test. It was written format, different standards. So I put the 2 columns in there, and you can see in a diagonal the same group of people, and then on the horizontal, the grade level, and in this direction, obviously how we did as a whole school. And you can just see there's some amazing data points to point out. This group, 9 points. This 5th grade, 69, 67. Look at this group jump 12 from 6th to 7th. There's some really great numbers, some things to celebrate. And again, with the growth mindset, you start looking at this as great. What are they doing in these grade levels? What are they doing here? And let's keep that trend up. Let's do some vertical teaming. Let's share. Let's talk about what we're doing to promote the English language arts.
And I think when we come to you and talk about, and you guys jump in as well, but when we talk about this PLC time and how important it is, and you know, early releases, and I know sometimes we say, you know, why would these teachers need that time to sit down and work on some of these things? I think this illustrates that we're doing it right, and we're giving these teachers time to make sure that they're teaching the right things. And so sometimes when we question, or a parent calls me and says, you know, why is my kid out early again this Wednesday, kind of thing. And I think this just illustrates exactly why we have to do that. So
we're literally crunching numbers. Every grade level and every team in the middle school and high school has an action plan that they're required to implement, and a big part of that is data points. And this is the stuff that they're pulling. They contacted Derek, Tim, and me at the beginning of the year and said, what what are my students coming in at? What were they at last year? Comparing that, looking at they're being reflective, their practices. What are they doing well? Let's keep it going. And if their scores weren't where they wanted them, creating a plan that'll get those scores up.
And we're actually, Beth, along your lines, just to quick note, with regards to PLCs, we're actually teaming up with preschool
Right.
as well. So our preschool has PLC time along with us, and they are teaming up with the kindergarten so that we can properly vertically align what are we teaching, what do the kids need to have. So those kindergarten teachers are working with preschool saying, here's what we need to see before they enter our grade level. And then kindergarten is meeting with first grade, and then actually pre-K, kindergarten, or first have met as well. And now third, fourth, and fifth are also kind of meeting to look at, what are we doing well and what do we need to look at fixing. And right now, all of our teams, K-12, are looking at an action research project in our PLCs to look at what we want to implement one thing this year and find out what kind of impact it has on our student achievement. And then we're going to draw conclusions at the end of the year to see, do we want to continue that? And then we'll all be able to share that amongst each other's, grade level to grade level to decide, hey, maybe this is something we want to implement in our grade level as well. So a lot of good things.
The science scores, MCA 3 science came out in 2012. As you can see here, we're clearly above the state average. And this is the 5th grade. I'm going to jump ahead to the middle school 8th grade scores. This is obviously one area that we are not at the state average, and that's part of the discussions that we have. Derek alluded to the vertical teaming when we have multiple grade levels talking about similar goals. One of the PLCs we have in the middle school and high school is a science one. And you better believe that these are some of the statistics they were looking at as they planned their goals. And here's the 10th grade science MCA. Amazing. And I'm going to steal a word, kudos. This is kudos to the high school science for having an amazing course offerings that we have, and this is reflective in our scores. Science breakdown. Can't do the different color diagonals. It doesn't work when they're not every year being tested. So on this kind of study, what you can do is you can take the horizontal, which is your study in the grade level assessment, or you can take the vertical, which would be the year that the science assessments took place. Questions? Wow, really? Well, that's what the last slide says.
Thanks, Mike,
Yeah.
for everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, impressive numbers.
They're very good. They're a reason to applaud. We work incredibly hard to use our data here in Cannon Falls, and the MCAs are obviously the benchmark that the state wants. Would love to see us continue to do well.
Thank you.
Yep.
You've done a really nice job with all your DAC duties, that's for sure. It is good.
Really positive information. Congratulations, and having our math and reading specialist has been a big plus.
Yeah.
Get the cheaters back on. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, public forum. Anyone that wishes to speak to the board about issues concerning school can do so at this time. Okay. Finance report. Let's move along. Mr. Davison.
Attachment B in your packet here. First page is going to be the cash flow worksheet, and I apologize for the small lettering, but try to keep it on the one page. And thought it was important that we keep an eye on to the fact that at the end of January come our debt service payments and kind of where cash flow is going to be at that point. So it's sitting at about $3.2 million in the bank right now as far as cash would go. Item to note on the left-hand column, Goodhue County, Dakota County, those are the cleanup payments for taxes. They'll come in the beginning part of December here next week. But then as we go on through the bottom of the cash flow sheet to the first part of February, and you see the 2007A, 2008A, and the OPEB, those are our debt service payments on the facilities improvement, and then the OPEB retirement benefit sort of debt. So after those payments are released, we're looking at a cash full balance of under $1 million. And well, it's a significant amount of money when you look at the big picture of what we are at an $11 million budget. We do stay positive in cash, we're not doing any borrowing. That's just an important number for us to keep an eye on where we're at. So again, once again, not having cash flow, borrowing in anticipation of aid is a good thing for us. That may not be the case next year as we start to plan that direction. The next couple pages are going to be just a summary of the last month reconciled. So we got October of 2014. You kind of see the changes versus October 2013. General fund is about $725,000 behind in cash. We're at this point last year, and a large part of that was the spend down of the general fund from last year, and now we're spending down a little more again this year. It's all part of budget plans, but just that we're mindful of where we're going with the general fund. And I think that kind of goes into talks of potential referendums. The food service fund about $10,000 behind, and we'll see when we get to the detail. That's more of a timing on some cash going in from the state for reimbursement on the lunch program. Community is doing quite well, about $90,000 ahead. Debt service a little bit ahead, and that's set to fulfill our needs. We collect at 105% of what our requirement is, and that's one of those numbers where when we do our levy, sometimes we're able to adjust a little bit. Fund 9 is the Trust and Agency Scholarship Fund. It's about where we're at this point last year. The OPEB Trust, there was an accounting error. The draw got drawn twice last year in 2013, so there'd be an adjustment there. We actually, that number would be about $600,000 last year. So we did take a draw of $100,000 to help cover some of our OPEB needs last fiscal year. And then 47 is the debt service on that OPEB fund. And again, set to fulfill what our payments are required. So the next page is just going to be the detail, and really the only two funds that something significant would kind of stick out of is the general fund, where net activity from last year October versus this year October, a combination of spending increase and revenue decrease would be about $140,000 in the general fund. And again, we are aware of that, and we just want to make sure we keep an eye on it and mindful of it. And then food service, about $25,000 less in revenue for October 14 versus 13, and that again would be a timing issue. We'll see that improve as we do the next month. The other funds are pretty much consistent with the prior year, and if you have any questions in detail, I can do my best to answer what you have.
Anyone?
I'll make a motion to approve the finance report.
Motion by Kurt, seconded by Jerry. Other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is carried. Excuse me, you're going to say something?
Nope. Just clear my throat, sorry.
No old business. Under new business, we have consent agenda items. You see those three. We usually motion them in with one. But if for any reason anybody wants to pull one out for further discussion, we can certainly do that. You had a chance to review those, and if not, just take a couple of seconds and look them over. No comment on personnel.
No, I did have a call from one of you on Sue Samuelson. She is one of our second grade teachers. She teaches part-time, if you remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
This works out really well. She's able to come in the morning, do some of the RTI work with her kids that she teaches in the afternoon. So, I mean, it's just a true blessing that she's able to do that position as well. Worked out really well for us.
Not only we haven't had a lot of sickness going through this school, huh? It sounds like Zimbrota was really...
Sickness has hit the kids. It hasn't hit the staff yet. The kids...
Okay.
Yeah.
Ask Mr. Bell about his concert. We're missing a lot of kids.
Let's not relive that.
Yeah, let's not relive that.
One kid on the triangle, and that was it?
What's that?
One kid on the triangle, and that was all the good
Cowbell.
Oh, the cowbell. Okay, there you go.
Need more
It
bells.
was pretty slim. For the first grade.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Pat, second by Brenda. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Item B, under the new biz, approval of the expenditures, attachment F.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the expenditures.
Motion by Pat,
I'll second.
seconded by Kurt. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Gosh, you're easy tonight. Consideration, item C, consideration to approve the timeline for the 2015 reductions.
The one I passed out is the one you saw the night at the retreat. I just, again, want to go through it, make sure that this is okay, so admin can move forward with our dates. The one change you saw in the previous was moving it to after the holidays. That always works a little better. And then we thought we would go ahead and do the first round discussions, and then first round cuts, second round discussions, second round cuts. That really worked out well. Last time we thought it gave you time to talk about things and not make any quick decisions on the spot. It really gave you time to go out and talk to the community and you know, make sure your decision was what you wanted to make. This puts us in line with contracts and letting people go if needed. So like I said, we want to make sure that you understand the timeline for reductions.
I'll make a motion to approve the timeline.
Motion by Kurt.
I'll second.
Second by Pat. Other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve class size guideline as recommended by the admin team.
Okay, this is another item that we've discussed for actually probably a couple of years. We've talked about it different times. Many schools have a guideline or an area. It will really help us in the upcoming months where we need to make decisions on class sizes and things like that. When I first showed this to you, we did not have middle school on there, and we had elementary at a number. Mr. Hodges and Mr. Bell worked on this. We all worked at this at admin, and we thought maybe a range was better. So if you look down at elementary, that'll give you a range. So when we're looking at reductions, we'll know the numbers that they fall into, and this will help you with those guidelines. So if there's any exact questions, I know we've talked about this before, but we just really want to have something in place. And again, this isn't a policy, but we would like to adopt some sort of guidelines so that when we come to you, we've got something that we're referencing versus just kind of pulling it out of the air. I think you'll find that this will make things a lot easier. You'll notice high school is not on here, and that's purposeful. When you're talking about specialty classes or things like that, we'll go with our regular, you have to have 12 to have the class go, but it always can be a unique situation when you've got 4 kids that want to take Spanish 4. Well, Mr. Hodges and Ms. Hoffman can make that work by doing things either ITV or putting them in a class, you know, have Spanish 3 and 4 in the same room, those types of things. So to put anything on paper just doesn't work at the high school level, but for middle school and elementary and special education, and as a matter of fact, Jake even put his preschool numbers on here. I would imagine that at some point mandated preschool is going to be the case. I see that coming very, very quickly, and so we'll work with that when it comes.
How do these maximum class sizes compare with the other schools in the HBL?
They're all very, very similar. I could pull that information for you, but they're all very, very similar.
This kind of represents a philosophical change for us. You know, we've always hung our hat on low class sizes, especially on those primary grades. Derek, when you came in here, that was more of our history. Now we seem to be making a step in a different direction. Would you comment on that just a little bit?
Well, I'm not necessarily sure we're making a step in that direction, but what it does give us is a common ground to stand on, because, you know, if we're looking at cuts, you know, we need to have kind of a common language when it comes to when is it okay to look at that as a cut and when isn't it? What is low class size mean to you as opposed to Kurt, as opposed to me? So it's kind of adopting a common language among us that we want the public to know, here's a guideline that we really, really want to stay in. We want to stay at the low end, absolutely. If we're getting up into this higher end, what is the cutoff where we decide we add a teacher 2 days before school starts, like we've done the last 2 years? Which is great, but what this gives us a little bit more of ground to stand on when it comes to those conversations. You know, the nice thing is, it still represents low class sizes. I mean, we're not looking to increase class sizes. What we're looking at is just a reference point so that we can begin to have that conversation to say, all right, if we're looking at cuts, here's possibility because here's where this class size falls if we do 4 or 5 sections here or whatever. So it's still, nothing's set in stone, it's not a policy, but it does help us. And ultimately, I think it helps the board and the public to see, you know, what we're looking at and what our expectation is of low class size.
If I was to present this to a prospective family, they would look at this and still think this is very low class sizes. When you've got kindergarten 18 to 23, this is still absolutely remarkable. You're definitely on the low end of things. So this is not a document I would hide from anyone. I would certainly give it to a prospective family or a realtor if they wanted to kind of, hey, you know, where's Canada Falls land and what do they believe on small class sizes? I'm actually really proud of this.
I think the lower grades look good, but I think middle school looks a little high going up to 33 and 35.
Well, and
35
maybe
should
Tim
be-
can explain that. That ends up being more of a scheduling thing. You know, if so many kids need to take 8th grade and there's an algebra class and 33 are qualified to take that class, we're not going to run 2 classes of 15 or 16. You know, you are going to put 33 of those kids in a class. So, and maybe Tim, you want to, you know, talk to that, but it
Get
can
into
be.
the whole scheduling thing?
I mean, there's one that could be
Sure.
18 and there's one that could be 33. It's just actually a scheduling.
It does come down to scheduling more so in this building, I think, than at the elementary. Because at the elementary, it's, you know, add a teacher and they teach all the different subjects. Up here, because of licensure, it doesn't quite work as cleanly that way. So for example, in the 7th grade, there are 4 sections of language arts, 4 sections of science, 4 sections of math. There are only 3 sections of social studies. So those 3 core classes that have 4 sections have the smaller end of that range. And that one, because it has 1 fewer section, has the larger end of that range. So that middle school range are the numbers that we have kind of averaged the last few years, anywhere from that low number to the high number in the core classes. In the you know, the specialist classes at the middle school level, we have trimester classes, so we have each of those grades split into 3. So that's why those numbers are where they're at. And the PE, we kind of feel like, because of the nature of that class, we can push those numbers a little bit higher. And again, all of those things, except for the specialist is pretty set, because every kid in each grade level takes those 3 classes that hour. So it is really split a third, and a third. All of the rest of them, it depends on the schedule and how things work out. There are some hours that when there are 4 classes for 7th graders to take, there are some hours that there are 3. In the hours that there are 3, the class sizes are bigger.
So it would be more of an exception than a rule, probably. I mean, the majority of the classes would be smaller than that.
Correct. I try my best to keep the classes small, and when I do the scheduling, I try to make sure that I try to match up the areas that only have 3 sections together, so that they're all fairly equal. But there are times it just doesn't work out perfectly. So there are hours when, you know, even though I've got 4 sections of language arts, one of them may have 28 kids in it. One of them may have 14 kids in it, just because of the scheduling. So I try the best I can to make sure that things balance out as well as possible. But when we've done reductions in the past, we have to take little nibbles and pieces in this building. So we've made the decision to go to 3 sections in some core areas, and that's what's driven up some of those class sizes. So we do have kind of a wide range. But you know, in years like this year, we added a section of civics and we added a section of communications 9 because those classes were going to be pretty large. So I kind of take my staffing and I'm a little bit more fluid with it based on what I need as far as sections to schedule. But it does get a little bit tricky.
Tim, does that change your necessity for paraprofessionals in a classroom if you move up to a larger class size? What's the criteria for that?
The paraprofessionals in this building are tied to special ed students.
That's
So,
it.
and they are scheduled by the case managers.
Okay.
So the case managers, you know, look at the needs of all of the kids on their caseload, and then they create those schedules based on that, and the paras follow the students that way.
Okay.
So yeah, it doesn't really, it doesn't really tie those two things together.
This would look to give you an opportunity to, in the past, we've never had any kind of document like this. You come in when it's reduction time, if you will, and I wonder what they're going to say kind of thing. This gives you an opportunity as an admin team, I would guess, to move forward.
Well, we have something now to base decisions off of, as opposed to just kind of.
Handpicking.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Brenda to approve the classroom size guidelines. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Good info. Item E, consideration to approve a second reading of the 500 policies. As you recall, I think we were going to approve more than that last time. That's
Yep,
a
we're
work
still
in
working on the
progress.
600s. We really have taken a lot of time, and Lori has been instrumental in this, and just really going through everyone with a fine-tooth comb and making sure that the policy is really what Cannon Falls needs and what matches up with MSBA. And I think we can be really proud of that. With that said, we're still going to move 600s back. We're not in any rush to get them through. But the 500s are things that we use all the time. You have done a first reading on them. I feel very comfortable doing a second reading on them. If you have any specific questions, I certainly can answer those. But again, we feel really good about these. The 500s are the ones that the principals probably use more than anything. It certainly is the one we use the most.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Pat,
I'll second.
seconded by Kurt. Further discussion?
I'd just like to say thanks to Deb Kedrick
Catterick?
Catterlick?
for all her work on this and for also posting the revision history in Google Docs that I was able to look at. So,
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Moving right along, reports. We'll start with the soup report. We don't have it listed, but I think it's
Sure.
good for the cause.
Yeah, I get off on our weeks, so I didn't have one last time, but I could have. We'll just, I maybe didn't make enough copies. Am I stuck there? Well, I need one of them back.
I'll share.
Okay,
I'll
we'll share. And I'll
I'll
pass
just,
it on you.
I'll just listen.
The first thing that I want to talk about is a lot of things that we go into budget cuts, and I think sometimes we don't communicate very strongly to the community in all the areas that we do try to save money. I have a sheet here that I will pass out. The Southeast Service Co-op is an organization that you approve each year for us to belong to. We pay $1,900, actually $1,974 each year to use those services. And what I like is they give us a summary of our member value. And things like the wellness program that Lori is involved in, and a lot of administrative things, co-op purchasing and things like that. I want you to see what that $1,900 gives you back. A lot of paper tonight. I never pass out paper. Sorry. But if you look on here, for $1,974 is our membership savings, which is in orange. What's in yellow is $78,000. And that's what we get back from the SSC. And each year this has grown and grown and grown. My first year as superintendent, we used about $17,000. We're up to $78,000 getting those benefits back, whether that means sending a teacher to a class that might cost us $74 instead of going to the Twin Cities and paying $400 for that. The wellness program and some of the health benefits that we get. Lori goes to a lot of meetings at SSC. I go to a lot of meetings at SSC. Those services are given to us through this membership. So I know sometimes you might question, why do we spend $1,900 to belong to an organization? I just really wanted you to see the member value back on that, if that helps you at all. And I think it really illustrates to the public that we are willing to seek out co-op buying. We can do things for better prices and we're getting the same exact product. I think our teachers that go to classes here are just as happy at an SSC class as they are a BER. We call those bear classes, but they're triple expensive. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Our building report, Dave isn't here tonight. I just wanted you to know that we did meet with All Systems today. We're kind of in those final stages of the doors and cameras. This has been a very extensive program. It's going to even be my educational update in the Beacon this week. We had some training today. I also put in here, and I won't read this, but the legislative platform that is just starting to come out. I'm again, for the second year, going to be on this committee and be working really hard on some legislative stuff. The first one is the Facilities Funding Working Group. They are really working on getting things, and if you see the red highlighted, maintenance issues and technology enhancements. The money that we're paying through WeTech and those types of things, if this goes through, would be reimbursed. The one-to-one initiatives, things like that, would be 50% back if we can get these types of things to go through. Number 2 is the categorical formulas. I think everyone, I've probably talked to you way too much about this. You're sick of hearing about it, but Cannon Falls falling 331st out of 339 school districts last year just isn't okay, and we need to keep fighting for that. You'll also notice one of the red highlighted areas is fully funded special education. I don't think that'll ever happen, but if it did, it would mean a lot of good things could happen in Cannon Falls. The third item is increasing the basic formula. Again, I've talked a lot about that. And then number 4, the last platform item will be to continue the makeover, or the making of the voter-approved school referendums. And as you'll see on there, the average referendum in the state is over 1,000 per pupil. And we are at 300 board approved. So I think it just shows again, we're doing, if you look at everything Michael presented tonight, we're doing some amazing things with a small budget. I don't know how long we can keep doing that, but we're working really hard at it. And then the last thing is our world's best workforce. The summary was sent and was accepted. And in my world, that's a big relief. So those are kind of the main things. If you have any specific questions, I can answer them. No, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Moving along, board members, anything for the cause here?
Well, we had the curriculum and tech meeting, just a little get together here last week, which was really good. You remember that, Rob?
It was right before last, though.
But it was a very good meeting. We would like to get together and just see where everything's going with the IT initiative and the administration, Enrique, and everybody just seems to have everything in order. It's good to see where it's going and the direction it's going. The passion that's involved with it is really good. At the meeting we were at, just to see these people get their heads together and just discuss what issues are out there and what they have to work with, where we have to fill in the holes and the concerns that are out there. And it just looks really good. It's there's a real strong passion out there. I'm glad to see that. So I just want to put that out there.
Good. It was a good meeting. I enjoyed it.
I forgot to mention last time that I attended the elementary literacy night, and that was really a neat event. There were lots of parents there and kids going around reading stories, and they had an author there, and the place was packed. It was standing room only, so that was really a good event. And then also the musical The Wizard of Oz, which was very enjoyable. It was really fantastic. Yeah.
Stealing his thunder.
Yeah. We can talk about
It's
it too.
his report.
But I was there in the audience. It was great.
Would you be willing to give us a quick update on Goodhue County Ed District 2? There's a lot of things going on there. Could you talk about your last couple meetings maybe, or? Sorry, am I throwing you?
No. I was going to do that last week. Yeah, this week wasn't great.
We just currently right now, while she's kind of digging for her notes, we're really in a kind of an interesting place with Goodhue County Ed District moving over. I've gotten a lot of calls. People are just getting their tax reports and they're seeing on the line, the school, what's my taxes went up for the school. That isn't the school, that's the building for Goodhue County Ed District, but unfortunately it goes on our taxes that way. So Brenda's been at a lot of meetings, I've attended a lot of meetings. You want to give any updates on those type of things? How's the building coming along?
Well, I guess they have the structure up now. I haven't been there, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
So, but from the last meeting, some of the things that were talked about was the decision for the shed to remain as part of the Westito school property.
Okay. Was there a lawyer involved in that, I think?
Yeah,
Okay.
we were involved in that. So that would still remain part of our property. And let's see. was that they voted to, they're not gonna use the ties, the data collection.
Data warehouse.
Data warehouse, yeah. And they're not going to implement that, but they are gonna cover the cost of that, so then we'll go back to the districts. And then they're considering a different data management system for the future. What's the name of that one?
Illuminate.
Illuminate.
Yeah. And we've opted out, just so you know, we were one of the only schools that opted out of that. We're gonna use Mr. Michael over there as our data warehouse. He's the data guy, so we don't need a fancy data warehouse when we have wonderful principals like we do, so. Cost savings.
I think that's all I.
Yeah, that's it, yep.
Anyone else?
And if you can do the oath of office.
Oh, that now, yes, okay.
Brenda, you got a lot.
There's a lot tonight.
Okay, we need to do the oath of office for the new board members. And first, we'll start with Kurt Beisel. Could you please stand? All right. This is to certify as follows. The School Board of Independent School District Number 252 on November 10th, 2014 canvassed the general election of school board members held on November 4th, 2014. Kurt Beisel received the largest number of votes cast for the office of school board member of Independent School District 252 for a full 4-year term. There are 3 full 4-year term vacancies on the board, caused by expiration of term on the first Monday in January next following the election. Therefore, Kurt Beisel is elected to the office of school board member of Independent School District Number 252 for a full 4-year term beginning on the first Monday in January 2015 and expiring on the first Monday in January 2019 by the authority of the School Board of Independent School District Number 252 pursuant to resolution dated November 10th, 2014.
And then
You sign this now.
You can just say all 3 names.
So to Kurt Beisel, the following acceptance and oath of office must be filed with the school district clerk within 30 days of the date of mailing or personal services certificate of election.
you can read the bottom part.
Okay. I hereby accept the office of school board member. You would read that.
Yep.
You read the acceptance and the oath of that.
Okay. I hereby accept the office of school board member of Independent School District 252 for a term beginning on the first Monday in January 2015 and expiring on the first Monday in January of 2019. I swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District Number 252 to the best of my judgment and ability. Now we can sign that.
Unless I ever do this.
Next would be Josh Banks. Surprise. You read the whole thing? Again. This, the School Board of Independent School District Number 252, November 10th, 2014, canvassed the general election of school board members held on November 4th, 2014. Josh Banks received the second largest number of votes cast for the office of school board member of Independent School District Number 252 for a full 4-year term. Read all of these. There are 3 full 4-year term vacancies on the board caused by expiration of term on the first Monday in January next following the election. Therefore, Josh Banks is elected to the office of school board member of Independent School District Number 252 for a full 4-year term beginning on the first Monday in January 2015 and expiring on the first Monday in January 2019. Make sure you want to do this. The authority of the School Board of Independent School District Number 252 pursuant to resolution dated November 10th, 2014. Following acceptance and oath of office must be filed with the school district clerk within 30 days of the date of mailing for personal service and certificate of election. So you sign that.
Nope, that one goes over here.
Oh, that one goes over. Okay, so then you have the acceptance and oath.
I hereby accept the office of school board member, Independent School District number 252 for a term beginning on the first Monday in January 2015 and expiring on the first Monday in January 2019. I swear affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of the school board member of Independent School District number 252 to the best of my judgment and ability. Sign it.
Yep, that one
Both?
you said, yep, yep.
The two lefties on the board.
Congratulations.
There's lefties on the board. We're going to set up a table there.
Oh, you can say that.
Ditto for you.
Two selfies, man.
Okay, next will be for Rob Siebeneller. This is to certify as follows. The School Board of Independent School District number 252 on November 10th, 2014 canvassed the general election of school board members held on November 4th, 2014. Rob Siebeneller received the third largest number of votes cast for the office of school board member of Independent School District number 252 for a full 4-year term. There are 3 full 4-year term vacancies on the board caused by expiration of term on the first Monday in January next following the election. Therefore, Robert Siebeneller is elected to the office of school board member of Independent School District number 252 for a full 4-year term beginning on the first Monday in January 2015, expiring on the first Monday in January 2019. By authority of the School Board of Independent School District 252 pursuant to resolution dated November 10th, 2014. That goes to you. To Rob Siebeneller, the following acceptance and oath of office must be filed with the school district clerk within 30 days of the date, mailing, or personal services certificate of election.
I hereby accept the office of school board member of the Independent School District number 252 for a term beginning on the first Monday of January 2015, expiring on the first Monday of January 2019. I swear affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the school office of school board member of Independent School District number 252 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you to all 3 new board members. Look back.
Okay, next, Matt Brewer, student report. What do you got for us, Matt? And congratulations, this is your first solo flight, isn't it?
Fun. All right. So there's no school this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for a break. Thanksgiving and Black Friday, all those wonderful things. So there's no school for them.
Online classes?
Deck the Falls is happening this Saturday in downtown Cannon Falls. All-day businesses will be offering great deals. At night there will be a parade featuring students acting and caroling on floats and the ceremonial lighting of the Cannon Falls tree. National Honor Society will be ringing the bell for Salvation Army all day as well. Feed My Starving Children happened this past Saturday in the cafeteria with the help of the community and NHS. Boxes were packed, and there were also items for sale such as pottery and baskets that were actually made in the countries that Feed My Starving Children actually helps. So there was direct deposits, and there was a lot of money made, and the event was a huge success. And the Cannon Falls dance team travels to Disney World next week. Congrats on their hard work getting this amazing achievement. They worked really hard to get this, and they did a lot of work. 1,000 kicks at the football game. That was a lot of work. A lot of girls were sore at the end of that. So congratulations to them. The Wizard of Oz had a huge turnout in attendance, almost reaching 900 people. And the last time that happened was Oklahoma, which was several years ago, during the 4-performance span. It was a great show featuring a lot of student talent. I myself was involved, and there was a lot of technical elements. There was a young cast, of course. There were a lot of 6th graders, so we're really trying to build up that program. 2 students in both the junior and senior classes were honored with the AAA award. This award is given to students who possess excellent in academics, athletics, and the arts. Well done, Maddie Adele and Bjorn Pearson of the junior class, and Caroline Bowen and Quentin Lindau of the senior class. Winter sports and activities are in full swing now. Varsity basketball played a nail-biting game against St. Croix Lutheran. They lost only by 6. That was a close game. Speech will have a record high roster of 91 students this season. That is huge. We normally average about 65 students. So, yeah, a lot of participation. So, and my last note, many student drivers have talked about close calls out on the roads when traveling to school. We definitely know winter has arrived.
Thanks. So 90 kids in speech, my question is, how do you get a word in edgewise?
That's why athletics is now.
That's regular.
Voted back together pretty bad.
It's going to have to be like 10 captains. It's going to be
Okay.
a lot of.
Upcoming meetings, a regular board meeting of December 15th, which will include the truth and taxation. Probably the agenda will be fairly light there. Other items that will appear on there besides truth and taxation will be the spring assistant coaching list, technology update, and the first reading of the 600 policies. If anyone else has anything to add, please contact Beth or Lori and we'll see that we can get it on here. So, okay, having just added the 3 board members, renew a couple, and add one. When you add one, then you subtract one, if you will. Pat, you're not allowed to speak anymore. And that just goes for tonight. I won't be able to attend December 15th, another commitment with a whistle and stripes. And so Pat will chair that meeting, but you know, when everybody spends the kind of time you do on school board, you really don't understand it until you get there. And all of you will attest to that. Philosophically, you know, Pat and I haven't always been in the same camp, but that's a good thing because you're supposed to be able to give varying opinions and let everybody be heard. Pat has never been short on being heard, and, but his value to the board has been extreme, to say the least. And as vice chair, he's been one of the confidants of the board chair as well as the administration in general. So when we add people on, and congratulations to Josh, but we have to say goodbye to Pat, and you'll take care of that at the next meeting. But a heartfelt congratulations for the years you put in, and thank you very much.
Thanks.
How many years was it?
9.
Don't leave with these, I need them.
Okay, I would now look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Jerry on the motion.
I'll second. Yeah, I can't do it next month.
And
That's your last motion.
Pat seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
One more time.